Welcome to the ripple effect of love for dads and families. And today we're talking about the magic of letting go. And I have a dad and leadership specialist, Bradley, who specializes in helping high achievers uh, to thrive in their careers and in their lives. He's also helping them find lasting peace through guided meditation and stress reduction. And we all know the effects of stress. So let's talk about that today. I'm Christine Bernat, stress management coach. And let's bring Bradley up here so you can meet Alex Bradley so you can meet him. Hi, Alex. It's so nice to have you join me today.
Hey, Christine, great to be here.
Excellent. So sometimes the best plans are the ones that we don't expect, right? and and it's time to reflect when adopting or adapting or letting go of control can lead us to something amazing and discovering flexibility that opens up doors for us. And because when we met, you talked about, the zero stress policy that you have, way of life. So I'd love for you to share some of that with us, with our
Sure,
audience.
no problem, no problem. Our journeys through life take different routes, and my journey in life, I started at a young age learning how to really eradicate stress, and knowing who I was in the universe was not what happened to me. And when I was 19, I went to South America and I lived apart from my family. I lost myself and found myself. I served the community in Chile for 2 years. I ate their food. I learned their language. I
Well,
dedicated myself.
that sounds so exciting at 19 to just leave home and do some of these things to find ourselves, right? What was it that was most important in that you learned from this that you have implemented since then?
Yeah, I would say one of the most important things I've ever learned from that experience was that I have to make sure in my life that the source of my confidence, the source of my joy, is
Mm.
an internal source, not an external source. When we start to base our joys and our happiness on someone else's actions or some sort of result that I have hung my hopes on, well,
Yeah.
now when that thing doesn't happen, all of a sudden now I'm left hanging holding the check quote. And I learned that at 19 that I am the source of my joy and happiness, and it really set me on a path. It doesn't mean I'm perfect, doesn't mean that everything's gone hunky dory, it doesn't mean that everything's, harps and angels, but I'm able to live in this stressful world and not be stressed.
Yes. I call that being in the eye of the hurricane. You're
Yes.
calm inside, and there's all this chaos around you. You can see it, but you don't have to be part of it. In
Right.
any type of conversation that you have with anyone that you're having. And that's not always easy. So, having been somebody that my son called me neurotic with reason when I was about 10 years ago, maybe 8 years ago. Yeah. So, I've had a huge journey in the last 6, 7 years so that I could find myself because I did not take the journey that you did to trust myself first, right? And it's tuning in to that inner wisdom. And at the beginning of this series, we talked about self-love, feeding your self-love, and find tuning into your inner wisdom, getting rid of all the blah 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 so that you can hear that inner wisdom. And in essence, I believe that's what you're telling us as well.
Yeah, I mean, one of the most key parts to this is also making sure you have grace for yourself and grace
Yes.
for others. So many times we're so hard on ourselves.
Mm.
We're our own worst critic, our own worst. And at the end of the day, that we need to be fair to ourselves as well, love ourselves. It's not a matter of pride. It's just a matter of self-respect and knowing that our inner joy, our inner peace is intentional and is a choice. There's one concept that I also teach a lot, and that is we are agents to act and not to be acted upon. And I feel like
Mm,
that has also shaped my life a lot, knowing that I have a choice, even when I feel like I don't have a choice, even when I
yes.
may feel, or in the past I would have felt trapped. You're never quite trapped because no one controls your heart and your mind but you.
Yes. And it's when you haven't been taught how to do that, it's quite challenging to learn it depending on what age group. But imagine dads who are leaving a legacy of love and learning that now so that their kiddos, their children, their teens can learn that from them before they're an adult.
Right.
Like that would be so like to me that would be mind-blowing to see that happening. So I when I looked through your profile, I saw you had this 3C model that I really like because it looks a lot like my Snap, Tap, and Zap, except you are talking about
Yeah. I talk about being cool, calm, and collected. And that
yeah,
helps in almost any situation, whether it's conflict resolution or whether it's at your job or it's when your teenager tells you something you're like, I cannot believe you just said that to me, kid. I just like, and I have four kids. I have a 28-year-old, a 26-year-old, a 23-year-old, and a 16-year-old. And of course, the 16-year-old, she's amazing. She's wonderful. She's absolutely a bright star in the universe. However, she is also a teenager. And at
yeah.
times says stuff and you're like, I cannot believe you just said that to your parent that loves you. Do you realize this is where your food comes from? It's like, uh, so you
I
got
love that you said that, Alex, because there's that part of the brain that says that, and that's something that our parents would have told me. But instead of saying that to your teen, what did you say?
right. So many times, I think I shared the story with I was asking my daughter how her day was. I was, she just got home from school, and I was like, "Hey, da da da," and I asked her like two or three questions, and after like the third question, she says just bluntly to my face, she said, "Dad, are you done?" And I was like, okay." And of course, I have a quick internal dialogue with myself, and I say, "Self, don't get mad at her. She's a teenager. She's got maybe a stressful day. She's got raging hormones. You know, Forgive
Yeah,
her right now. Just forgive her right now." And then I've taught my mind that in that point 0.2 seconds, in that 0.02 seconds, I
yeah,
believe myself. So I tell myself what I want to feel and what I want to think. And then the other side of myself believes me. And I instantly incorporate that into my persona. So I never get that well up. I never get that contention, and that cortisol
mhm,
dump never comes into effect. I don't get mad at her. I just simply forgive her in the moment. I it doesn't mean that you just roll over and let your kids roll over you. I may say even at some point, "Hello, daughter, that wasn't the most kind way to talk to me. Maybe we can talk about that later." Sometimes I've also learned with teenagers, you don't always correct in the moment. Sometimes you let them simmer for a little bit, you come back, and then you talk about it. But it's always with respect, it's always with love. You're never using anger. When we employ anger, our communication just falls off a cliff. So
yes.
that's what and I've been doing that for decades now, right? Again, this is 30 years of living and striving to just live stress free, and those are one of the techniques. And you can do that with your boss, you can do it with your spouse, you can use these same techniques I use across the board.
Yeah, that's beautiful because I still remember when my son was 16, I think I told him to go to his room. And he's like, "Make me." I said, "Fine, I'll go to my room," because I needed a break from him and I was not staying in the same room. I
I
went to my room, I sat down to de escalate, took a book, read. I said, "You know what? I've got 5 minutes for myself right now, and I'm going to take those 5 minutes for myself." And then, first thing I knew, 15 minutes had gone by, and he's knocking on my door. "Mom, Mom, are you okay?" And that was the best thing I had ever done. And it was just spontaneous. It was, but I want to share this because sometimes it's these out of the box solutions that work best, where we stay calm, and it's not because they don't like us. You know, if they have raging hormones and they're all over the place, they can't even manage their emotions right now. And we're asking them to be at their top of the game when they get home from school, or when, something has happened. And we never know what happened. Maybe they just got, I don't know, spammed at school with crazy stuff, or their content made it around the school, and it was very, very dramatic day. So as the
Well,
adult, go
and
ahead.
and I think that's great, as the adult. But of course, the the kids these days, like their experience is different than ours. I mean, I'm
Yes.
52 this year, and I don't feel 52. I just feel maybe 26 or 27, but that's a different story. But I'm 52. My experience was very different. The conversations they have school,
Mm,
the pressures that they're under, it's a
yeah.
different pressure. We had pressure too. I was more of a
Yeah.
sports pressure guy, and I did a lot of varsity sports in high school, and I had a lot
Mm,
of friends. But like I asked my daughter, their social pressure is tough.
yeah.
Their online presence,
Yeah.
they have groups on their phones, and it's just, you know,
Yes.
it's tough. And there's times I also want to just take every phone in the world and just throw it down the trash chute, because these phones, they can be your friend or your enemy. And one thing that I do, and of course I've been a youth leader at my church for many years, and I've been teaching this for the last year, and that is, we need to make sure that technology is serving us and we're not serving it. Is the phone your master, or are we the master of our phone? And I try to help the youth kind of just think that, just say that to yourself like once a day, or because you can find yourself doom scrolling. All of a sudden, there goes 2 hours. What are you better off for that 2 hours? Usually not. So
And do you have
the
other,
real that can happen on phones.
yeah, do you have other little tips for them that you give them to help them? Because I have somebody that created an Uchi app that will be coming on the show. So he'll be telling more, where he's created an app so that people can, in the family, can create the group, and it's just the family in there, or they can help their teen create a group for just the friends, so that you're not stuck with all this other, I'm going to call it garbage.
Yes, no, it's garbage. It's I'm a firm believer that, again, technology is for us to use for positive, but it can be used for negative as well. And we just have to make sure that we've got clarity on that. And what's the purpose of this device, of this app? Of, am I just scrolling? Am I trolling? Am I being trolled? I think I got out off of Twitter about a year ago because I felt like I was being trolled. I felt like there was nothing uplifting for me at that moment. Now I may go back to it, who knows? But at the end of the day, am I better off because of this device? You
Yeah.
know, just keep questioning yourself. And one thing I like to do is every so often too, just take a break from it. Walk away, just turn it off. Turn off for a day, half a day, whatever. Like, our minds, and this is where, you know the 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 people in charge, right? Who is the
Yeah.
they, right?
Yes.
The they out there, they are not, they don't care about our souls. They
No.
want our eyeballs, and they want us to keep clicking to the next ad. They want to keep
Yeah.
clicking on the next,
Yeah.
and it's the algorithm is, it's biased against us, and they
Yeah.
know our instincts, they know human nature.
Well,
Netflix.
they've got all these AI things, following. If you go and look at a site, thank goodness now there's this option where you can reject the cookies. That helps a lot, I have found, but
Yes.
you still get trolled
Well,
by some of the
this is,
researches that you do. So the question is it serving you,
yes.
and how is it serving you, right? And yes, and how much time are you wasting on it? What else could you be doing?
Right.
And
What other uplifting activity? What other, and it doesn't mean that everything you do in
yeah,
life has to be just uplifting and serving. And
yeah,
sometimes a good, wholesome movie is great, a little
yes,
escape. not
Yeah.
horrible. Listen to some music, but at the end of the day, they don't care about that. They want your eyeballs, and we have to kind of fight against some of those algorithms. There's a documentary on Netflix, not that I'm trying to promote, uh, and I think it's called The Social Experiment. I don't agree 100% with it. I think their conclusions at the end are wrong. I don't agree with them, but uh, it's a great demonstration of what's going on in the background as we are going onto these social sites. They're
Yeah.
building this act, and they create this documentary based on he's like a teenager, or maybe he's like 19 or 20, and he's like, oh, he's looking, he's checking out soccer balls. Okay, feed him soccer
Yeah.
shoes. Okay, and it's
Yeah.
like from the
Yeah.
mind of the algorithm, and
Yes.
it's so pernicious. We have to fight this and be conscious and choose our media specifically. Like we cannot be laying down, and as fathers, as parents, as families, I
Yeah.
assure you that they do not care about us. They don't want the family to survive. They want the individual. And at the end of the day, we're not individuals. We are a team. We're a group. We're a collective. We are a family, and a family is based on love and respect. And
Yes.
hopefully,
Yeah.
even our media, our technology is that love and respect as well. All right, I'll get off my soapbox.
It's okay. No, but it's very important, and being able to explain this to our teens, I think, is important because they're smart, and then they become more and more aware. I
Yeah.
remember I was a Mary Kay beauty consultant at one point in my life, and a dad's like, "Oh, you guys, it's all your fault. My daughter's spending all this money." And I'm like, "Oh," at that point, I didn't think of anything. Today, I would answer, "And who's giving her the money?" And who gave her permission to come to this event, and who did this? And we're afraid sometimes to say no to our beautiful kids. However, the way we say no, right? Do you have a special way that you say no to your
Yeah.
teen?
I've learned over the last couple of years, this is something new actually, even though I've been a dad now for 28 years, I've been married to the same woman 30 years. We celebrate our 30th anniversary this year. She's an amazing,
Congratulations.
and I always tell people the secret to a great marriage, there's two things to a great marriage. First, you must fix yourself first. No
Yes.
fix you. If you are not
Yeah.
fixed, do not expect your spouse to fix you. That is not the job of your spouse. It's not your job as the spouse to fix your counterpart. No, we fix ourselves, right? So one, be fixed, fix yourself, make sure that you're on the path. It doesn't mean you have to be perfect, but at least you've got to have done that inner work. Second, start to prioritize what they think is important to them. And I learned that within the first couple of years of my marriage. I was kind of, not that I was being disrespectful, but I was sort of nonchalant with things that she really was passionate about. Just because I wasn't passionate about it, I was kind of like, "Oh, that's nice, sweetie," and I would just not give it the time of day. I can think of like scrapbooking. I was not into scrapbooking. I didn't know what scrapbooking was. My wife loved scrapbooking. She was like a scrapbooking maniac. Well, I realized I need to make that a priority in my life. If she is the one I love, then that becomes a priority to me. And as you both do that, it's a selfless act, and then your bonds grow tighter. So those are my two little tricks there. But how do we say no to our teenagers? It's very, very difficult, and this is where it has to come into play. And it's practice, practice, practice. Offer
Yes.
them suggestions that it's their idea. One way to do it is say, okay, teenager, the dishes need to be done. We're a family. The floors need to be vacuuming. You've got homework. Dad just got from. How would you like us to structure this so that we all can have fun, but yet still be a family? So incorporate them into the answer. So instead of just being like, "Thou shalt do this," blah blah blah, I always try
Yeah.
to make suggestions so that they can choose. Do you think this is a good solution? Hey, what if I do this, then you do this, or we spend an hour doing this? Is this a good idea? So those are kind of the techniques I use. Most teenagers do not respond well to direct confrontation. They do
No,
not
no.
respond well to dictating, because there is something about a teenager that ultimately it's almost like if dad says go right, I'm going left. you know, like in fact, I've had
Yes.
my daughter told me one time, this was a while ago, she goes, Dad, I was about to do that one thing, but since you just asked me to do it, I don't want to do it now. She was very
Mhm.
open. She was like, and I was like, oh, I guess I got a little lazy. And again, as parents, sometimes we get a little lazy because we just want to get stuff done. And then we forget, oh, wait, I'm dealing with a teenage mind here. Hey. So, in fact, the other day I said, sure would be great to see you out here crushing some dishes. I sent her some text and she was like, oh, Dad, that was really good. Okay. Yeah. I'm all over it. I'll do it because of it. All that mattered was I
Yeah.
changed how I said it.
Yes. Yes. Yes, yes, and yes, and yes. The words we choose. And, how would you like to structure this? This is what needs to be done. We're a team. These are the tasks that need to be done. Which one do you want to choose? It could be a different person each time that makes the first choice, right? Today's mom that chooses, today is the teen, kiddo is the next day, dad's the next day, or if you don't care, whichever you do, you can let them choose all the time first. However, it's not that they get to do it or not. It's which one of these items do you
Right.
want to do? And by when does it need to be done? Not next week. This just need to be done today, And and
Right.
and sometimes we want our kids to love us, and some parents have become their best friend
Yes.
instead of their children's parent. And parenting is tough love, but tough love does not mean imposing who we are, because the brain, when you said, this is what I wanted to say, I was looking for my thought here. When you said, if you say A, they'll say B. And yes, and the reason that is they're trying to become their individual selves. And if they're trying to be their individual self and we don't allow that space for them to be that individual, once we let them go, they won't know how to cook, they won't know how to clean, they won't know how to do anything, because they'll be expecting you to tell them what to do.
Right. No, that's a great point. I think as they're coming from their adolescence, they're 6, they're 7, they're 8, and then they're 10, they're 11, they're in the tweens, and now they're in their teens. And, I said this to Amanda the other day, again, my teenager, and I said, you know, I'm trying to help you learn how to make good decisions because I am not going to be here forever. You are not going to be in this home forever. So ultimately, my goal as a father is to love you, take care of you, protect you. But at times I have to let you make some choices that may not be the best either. Obviously, they're not going to be detrimental, but you then need to learn some consequences, make some choices, but
Yeah.
learn how to make good choices. In fact, there's a line I use, and I'm sure my oldest, I use this on her, and I use this sometimes as well. Right thinking derives right choice making. So I teach more about how to think rightly so that then they can make right choices. I'm not so concerned about the individual choices or trying to teach, oh, now daughter, when you see this, choose that. No, it's this is how we think. Learn how to think rightly so you can choose rightly.
I also believe that we need to let them fail sometimes and be there. It's an experience, it's a life experience. If you're fixing everything for your children or your spouse,
You're
or
right.
your loved one, they're not learning to be independently themselves. They're not learning to fix themselves. They're trying to fix everybody around them. And when you're trying to fix everybody around you, what happens to you? You lose yourself, then you're the one that needs the oxygen mask because you're out of oxygen. And I love, like, we did a whole show on put your oxygen mask on first. That means also fix yourself first,
Right.
because sometimes we expect our loved ones to pick us up and help us, but we're drowning too if we haven't learned to fix ourselves. If neither of us has learned to fix ourselves, I mean, and it happens depending on how we were raised and the journey we did. Not everybody is lucky like you, Alex, and at 19 says, "Hey, I'm going on a journey to discover myself." I mean, that's not what you said to yourself, I'm sure, when you left. You just had this inner wisdom, you followed it, you went, and that's what came out of it, which is so beautiful. And I think you're having some camera issues. I hope you
Oh,
can. Oh,
sorry.
there we go. It's okay. So it's really kind of cool to be able to, yeah, fix yourself first and then see where you go, self-regulate. And you
Oh no. Oh
talked
no.
about
I think I might have lost
cool.
you.
No, I can see you. I can see you. We talked about being calm, cool, connected, and that's okay to get off track sometimes. But what are you doing to get yourself back on track? Get back into your own shoes, not everybody else's shoes, right? I think Alex is having some issues, so it's okay. Thank you so much,
I think
Alex,
I'm
for
back.
being
Am
with
I
us.
back?
Well, I can hear your voice, but I can't see you, so that's okay.
Oh,
But
let me see if I
I
can't
just want to
reset.
thank you.
Sorry about that. Oh,
Okay.
okay. I
No
think I'm back.
worries.
I'm back.
Let's just say
All right.
calm, cool, collected. This is where I
Cool,
self
calm, and collected.
regulate.
That's right.
Yeah. I like
Oh,
this.
there was one thing I wanted to say, and we can leave on this note if this is a good time for you.
Yeah.
I had an epiphany, or not an epiphany. I've been trying to help my kids, but in my kids' journeys, and my goal is for them to understand one of these main concepts, and that is you're a child. Do not, I don't expect you to be perfect. Do not expect yourself to be perfect. And that when most of these kids who want to please their parents, they want to please their teachers, they want to please their coaches, right? That this is not an uncommon desire. Now, some don't give a flip, and that's a different story. But on those kids that have that desire to please, to do well, and then when they fail, they think they have somehow failed us. And one thing I told Amanda the other day, look, you can never fail me. I love you unconditionally. This love is so deep, there is nothing that breaks it. So please be a kid, learn from your mistakes, but you're going to make mistakes. That is okay. I already know you're going to make mistakes, and I've already forgiven you for it. You're already okay. Just all I want you to do is learn from them. That's it. We'll talk about it, we'll learn from it, and we'll grow from it. But but don't then, because what happens sometimes, they start to lie, they get
Yes.
self-conscious, they get, and some to the extreme can sometimes even become suicidal because they
Yeah.
feel they have failed their family, failed their life, they fail. And no, that is the furthest from the truth. There is no failing. They are not a failure, right? We are who we are, and that's separate from what happens to us. All right, that's my little.
Exactly. And that's why I love to teach to self-regulate, because when you self-regulate, it calms the amygdala. It takes it out of survival mode, because that fear of failure, the brain is in survival mode. And when the brain's in survival mode, if you're not able to just say calm, cool, and collected, then you need more. If that works for you, congratulations, take it, run with it, and
Yes,
love it, apply it, but find what you can apply. Don't we all make mistakes?
we all do.
Are
Yeah.
we not all perfectly imperfect?
Absolutely.
So, on that note, don't expect your children or yourself to be perfect. Learn from your mistakes one step at a time, and find a way to ground yourself, to release your stress, And so that you can let go of the expectations of the outcome, and then you stop controlling, right? We hardly talked about control, but all this leads to you don't need to control if you're fixing yourself first, right? If you don't expect yourself to be perfect, there's no need for control. But I understand that the brain goes into control because it does not feel safe. And if you find your self control or someone's telling you you control, snap, tap, and zap that out.
Nice.
Calm your survival mode down so that you can be present. Well, it was a joy to have you, Alex. I thank you so much, and take great care of yourself. And bye-bye, everyone. And we will see you tomorrow for another episode, which is all about relive the feeling of success. Sometimes we're so caught up in the errors, we are not seeing our success. So that's what we'll be looking at. And thanks again for Alex for being here. I will put his information in the chat so that if you really enjoyed what he had to share and want to know more, please connect with him.